There's something funny about Melbourne. Comedy's baked into the fabric of our city. I mean, have you seen hook turns? They're hilarious. Some year-round comedy clubs, they're fleeting. Others become institutions. And it's at places like that that household names cut their teeth, while other acts vanish into obscurity. From the trailblazing Flying Trapeze Cafe, Rod Contock and Mary Keneally's Comedy Cafe, and the legendary Last Laugh Restaurant and Zoo, to the 90s mayhem of the Prince Pat and St Kilda's SB Comedy. It takes passion, commitment, and a little bit of crazy to run a comedy venue. Today, there are comedy rooms in Melbourne giving stage time to a whole generation of comedians, 7 days a week, all year round. The Melbourne comedy scene has always been surprising, ingenious, exciting, and world class. A springboard for Australian performers to take on the world.
In Sydney, comedy's a business.
What is up, my bitches?
In Melbourne, it's a giant dysfunctional family.
Yay!
We fucking smashed it tonight, didn't we?
Here I am in St Kilda on Carlisle Street, going into the Local Laughs. This Monday night gig has been running literally for decades. It's seen most of Melbourne's open micers and some of the best comedians the world has ever seen.
This comedy night is almost old enough to go to a pub. So
It can drink.
Yeah,
and
it can almost
it deserves a drink with all the comedy that it's seen.
really does.
So, are most people from this area?
Yeah, a lot of people are local.
Yeah.
So they, it's called Local Laughs, and they are local.
There's comedy history within this suburb.
This is where all the comedians used to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, once upon a time, this is where everybody used to live, and then they hoiked the rents up and everybody went, oh, let's go the other side.
Because you don't only run the room, you're a performer.
Yeah, that's right. I do the teching, so I do the tech stuff,
Yep.
sound and lights and setup and things like that.
We need this. This is important shit, guys.
The work that you've got to put in to herd the comedians, get people in
Yes.
on a Monday night.
Yes.
Does it still stress you out a little bit trying to get bums on seats?
Yes.
Every week?
Every week. You know what it is? It's like putting on a party every single week. And you know when you've invited everybody and you said, oh, it's 8 o'clock onwards, and it's 8 o'clock and there's nobody there. It's like that, but every single week.
Where's everybody? I'm worried.
Just messaging the front row. They've been loyal regulars for 20-something years at my gigs. The audience, some of the audience have been coming with me through different rooms and projects since the 90s.
There! We need our front row. Hey, Lisa, I love your shoes.
I suppose the audience gets to trust me.
Mr. Earl, here we go.
Yes, this is it, everybody. It's time to finish up those fascinating conversations. Turn your eyes towards the stage and get ready to make merry and welcome on stage your host for today. It is the amazing Josh Earl.
Hello, Local Laughs. How we doing? We good? It's all good?
So yeah, a better marriage between a room and a comedian you would struggle to find.
I reckon for the first year of comedy in Melbourne, I only played this room. I didn't even look at other rooms.
But man, it was...
I remember once, because I never used to drive when I moved to Melbourne, and once when Justin and I were doing the Renegade, we had so many props, and I couldn't afford a taxi. So I got the tram from Fitzroy over here twice. So I rocked up at 5:30 with all my props, went back to get my guitar and something else, and then came back. And then the props didn't go home because we smashed them on stage. But it was like, that's 3-hour commute. Crossing the Yarra, that's a big call. All through lockdown, I had to keep reminding myself that other people have it worse than I did. That's what got me through. Because I was thinking the people who had it worse were those who were like polyamorous. Just because I thought they had no one to tell they were polyamorous to for 8 months. It's like, we get it, guys. Okay, you like fedoras and you dress like a street magician. We understand. No one dresses like Emily Strange that much. We get it. Like, so I'm at an age where like polyamorous is kind of a newish term. You hear a lot more. When I was a lot younger, it was swingers. They called themselves swingers. And every swinging couple I ever met were the same. It was like one of them really loved sex and the other one just liked to cater for large groups. And that's every single one. I look like you got like wet after midnight and I've spawned out of you. I'm dressed exactly like you tonight. This is weird.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you at a funeral. Because you do a lot of hosting now, and there's more on a host than there is for anyone who hasn't been on comedy night. You're the one that's doing the most amount of work, usually for the least amount of credit from the audience.
Yeah, so often you get as a host, you should actually try comedy. You were as funny as those. And I'm like, thank you. And that's good. It means that it's all run smoothly and the acts are the star. They're the champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I said you don't get a lot of accolades from the audience when you host, it is fun because you feel like you get to know them.
Yes. And also you get to have another shot. That's the other thing with being MC. You're always on edge. I hear a big laugh. Is that being finished? A Friday night in a boozy place, it's like, oh, I don't want to have to go out there again. I've done my time. But then somewhere like this where it's nice and the people who come here are really nice, it's always great to go, oh, great, I get to come out and say hi again. Because for those who don't know, I'm from Tasmania. I say that in all my shows just so the audience just goes, shh, he's doing a good job, okay? So I'm from a place called Burnie. Has anyone ever been to Burnie? Has anyone been to Burnie? You went to Burnie. What made you go to Burnie?
I'm Tasmania.
You asked whereabouts in Tassie are you from? That's real. Like, this is how I describe Burnie for those who don't know. You will know this. So Tassie is like, Burnie compared to Tassie, it's like, do you know when your guests coming over to your house and you make the room, like the house spotless and you tidy up every room, but there's always that one room that you just close the door and dump all your shit in there? That's Burnie, isn't it? That is Burnie. Like, Burnie's just a room full of unfolded washing, like unwashed cups and homophobes. Just get in there. Anyway.
Well, then how do you get from Burnie to performing Melbourne comedy?
I did the Hobart Comedy Festival and met a lovely woman called Janet McLeod who said, you should do comedy in Melbourne. I can get you spots, because I was moving over here. And so I did my first ever Melbourne spot on that stage.
I always did like too, and this might sound strange to people who don't know necessarily stand-up comedy that well, that in rooms, there are rooms where we get up, we try new material, but you don't get paid.
Yeah.
But Janet was always really good. She's like, here's the cash. It was in an envelope. I felt like I was a professional.
It was like Chinese New Year, because she gave you a little red envelope at the end of every night. It was like, oh, thanks, Janet. I think the only people with a weirder father-son relationship than Jesus and Joseph would have been Sigmund Freud and his dad. You know, after Freud released the paper saying every son wants to have sex with their mum, that's a weird phone call home. That is like just... Oh, Dad, you answered. I thought Mum would. Yeah, I bet you did, little pervert. Oh, what? What was that, Dad? Oh, nothing, mate. Just one of me classic slips of the tongue. You know me classic slips... Oh, I'm always doing those slips of the tongue. Anyway, here's your mum. Anyway, so, put your hands together, raise the roof. Welcome to the stage, it's Dane Simpson, everyone!
Thank you so much. This is... I live in Wagga Wagga, country, New South Wales. That's why I dress... Yeah, okay, somebody just... We're both here. Wagga's fit for the robbing right now.
Dane, your story is as old as time. You know, a kid from Wagga Wagga gets himself on the Melbourne Comedy Festival gala.
That old chestnut.
How does that work?
Kev Krapineri, a comedian, came to town, and they hired me as well to do all the audio stuff. So, and in the car on the way, we're just spinning yarns, similar, and telling stories. I tell a lot of stories about my family. Kev was laughing, and then we got to a town called Narrabri, and he said, you should go out and spin that yarn for me before I do my show. Quite literally, I was like, nah, I'm not doing this. And then Kev's like, oh, that's a shame. And then quite literally pushed me out on stage from side stage. And yeah, I spun my little yarns. I said I'd do one. I did 3.
Mate.
Yeah, it was just exciting. I think the bug bit me that night. I think it's just because my eldest, like everyone else in my family is black. Like they're black, they're dark. My eldest brother is black. Like they call him Midnight. That's how black he is. He calls me 7:30.
What do you find different about the Melbourne scene for the audiences and maybe the comedians?
I find Melbourne to be 80-90% like crowds with you. Like they bring a smile to a comedy club.
Right.
Wagga's quite do a joke and be funny. I got engaged in 2019, which is incredible. Like, that's... Yeah. She said to me the other day, she's like, hey, Dane, should we write our own vows? And I'm like, absolutely. Fuck yeah, this would be great. And then she said, oh no, that's right, I forgot you're a dickhead. No, just do traditional stuff. And I was like, nah. I've already got a couple of lines. I've got 2 lines already. Did you want to hear what I've got? Yeah, fuck yeah, all right. So we'd like walk down the aisle, obviously, and then like she'd be there, and then put the... Hey. First, you stole my land. But now you've stolen my heart. Is that pretty good? All right, Melbourne, thank you so much. I love you. I'm Dave Thornton.
So what happened when you turned it? Was it doesn't hit?
Yeah.
So if you're saying you stole my line, everyone finishes the line. So they actually...
That's not really
funny because Casey said the exact same thing. He goes, have you tried flipping that around? And then I was like, nah, I have, yeah. It just doesn't work. And then he goes, it's so funny because you say that first line, I don't need to know the second line, but I hear it and I go, yeah. You've smashed an edge for me.
That's it. That's so interesting.
It's like something sweet at the end. Thank you. Yes.
I can only be a stand-up comedian. That's like my one barely discernible talent. But you look like a performer that's done all this stuff.
You're
Acting.
right, I am more talented than you.
That's what I was edging towards.
Oh, hello, local loss. What is up, my bitches? So good. I love doing comedy again. Do you love looking at comedy again? Fuck yeah, I bought this jacket for the comedy. I was like, category is Seinfeld realness.
You've done the solo shows, character shows.
I love doing mimes, physical comedy. I've started dabbling in burlesque. There's lots of different avenues and ways for me to express my funny to people.
He goes, oh, that's why they call me Johnny Never Got Hugged Enough as a Kid Malone.
But at times you're dissecting comedy down to its nth degree.
Yeah, and I think I'm just a comedy nerd.
Oh, so you love it, like it doesn't get on top of you, it doesn't, sometimes you go, I've talked about comedy enough.
Oh, no, it's never enough.
It's never enough?
No.
That's so good.
And you're right, it's so funny that we can have as much logic to comedy as we like. But that's what it says in the rules. And then you go, and the audience is like, fuck your rules. How does it work?
Right?
I know that you all believe that you are fine, upstanding citizens. But as a former McDonald's employee, as a team member, I'm here to tell you that you're all fucking pack of cunts. When you come to me at 3 a.m. going, nuggets. Right? You know what you do, right?
Because you're from Melbourne?
Yeah, I am definitely.
Yeah,
Melbourne girl. I'm a Melbourne girl.
Do you find that when you're touring around, is it any different here, this scene in particular, or even the audiences?
I think there's just so much more going on here because we have the festival, because we have places like Local Laughs. I think that audiences in Melbourne are therefore very discerning, you know?
Oh, you think?
They're not just going to lap up any old thing. You've got to earn it.
You got to bring your A game.
I think so.
Does anyone order anything other than sweet and sour barbecue at Macca's? Do you know there's 3 other kinds that no one ever orders or likes? Aioli. Well, this is 15 fucking years ago. So do you think anyone knew what aioli was? They'd probably be like, don't use bad words in front of the children. That's areola. Nah. Oh, you can do that.
Bit of an applause break. Pretty good. I don't know, there was a bit where like I felt them getting quiet. And so I was like, all right, we've got to stop and just like interact with the crowd because if it's a long bit, they get a bit like, but what about me?
I'm getting paid $7.16 an hour. For this, that was what I got paid. Did anyone else get paid less than that? What did you get paid? $6. Oh, bitch. Oh, it's like, well, I mean, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to talk. We're not actually allowed to talk. Hungry Jacks. Can anyone beat $6 an hour? You can. What did you get? $6.10, babe. What were you doing? Can we sink any lower, people? Can we?
Domino's in New Zealand.
Yes. It's not Domino's, it's Dimino's.
It's nothing like a bit going well. Just being able to be like on the fly and go, that's what comedy needs, that's what I need to do right now, this is how my job works. And I haven't done that in like a year. And I was like, yeah.
So what, 4 years in, 5 years in, and then you started doing Local Laughs?
I think so, yeah, something like that. The room is so generous and Janet is so encouraging and so, like, again, generous towards the performers and how she always books the lineup to have this beautiful kind of narrative to it almost. And I think that's a really beautiful, wonderful way to run a room.
Putting together a lineup, Dave, is like putting together a patchwork quilt. So that you've got lots of different bits, but they've all got to match up. When did you first start performing here?
I think I performed here probably for the first time in 2004.
Ooh, yeah, would be.
And then you were the first person who ever made me MC a show.
Yeah! I believed in you.
I spent the next 15 minutes in the toilet going, what am I doing?
Yeah, I'm the person who makes comedians almost vomit and then do things important to their career.
Yeah, you push us out of the nest.
Yeah, that's it. Like, go on, I believe in you. Doink.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder if there's a small stitching of Thorno through that show, will it break up the quilt or could I get a spot?
I would love to include you in the quilt.
Yes!
I'm about to go on, and after I've talked to all these comedians about what it's like to perform if I bomb, that's really bad. People often wonder, how showbiz is comedy? We get to walk through a completely empty, dank kitchen. Hollywood.
Yeah. You know, I got an Uber and I was just heading into the city and the guy goes, are you in a rush? And I'm like, do you want 5 stars? Like, it's up to you. This is the quid pro quo that we're working with. And he said, I just have to go to the bathroom. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. When do you find the time? Between each lift. But still, we're here now. And there was a public toilet coming out. And I said, cool, just pull over. You're all right, mate. And he pulled over, went there. But of course, the thing is, he left the car running because he wanted the fare to keep going. But his security blanket was he took his phone with him so that I couldn't stop it on the phone. But he goes into the bathroom, doors close. And I was thinking, I could just steal this car. Like, and he hasn't got a leg to stand on if he says to the cops, so the guy stole my car, what do you do? I left it running with him in it. Like, that's on you, mate. Like, I don't know, that's just bad business. But the thing is, I didn't really want to steal the car. I didn't want to hold on to the car. I just wanted to drive the car 100 metres up the road and then just start doing doughies at the intersection so that an Uber driver can look at his own car going, what It was 2 minutes away, 20 fucking minutes ago! Guys, thanks so much for listening to Love.
Give it up for Dave Thornton! Hey, girl, come on. And next, we really get on now, but pretend that they're not there and you haven't seen it, because she's got to set up.
Judy, you're one of those performers that I think slightly annoys comedians because you've got actual talent in other areas.
Stop it.
Which I'm like, oh man, she's got a fallback.
But I think of it more as like cheating. Like
Do you?
I have the piano and the singing because I'm not as funny as a stand-up comedian.
No, because there's a real talent to that you've got to, like, you are being funny on top of all the other things.
Thank you that's very nice of you to say that, Dave.
Living in my head is little me, and I can see she's worried about the future. Hey, don't worry about the future, 'cause everything works out fine.
I've always respected musical comedians because you've got to get there early to make sure you can test all the audio.
Yes, sometimes 2 hours earlier.
Do you get to pull rank and go, I need the park out the front?
It didn't even occur to me that I could do...
I'm going to move my car right now.
No, listen to this right now.
Don't worry about the future, 'cause everything you dreamed of, it's gonna happen. Don't worry, little me. Don't worry, little me. Everything works out perfectly. I'm exactly where you wanted me to be. I'm living in a share house. It's exactly what I wanted. Share house. It doesn't get better than a share house with all your friends, people that you're friends with by default. Who knows what kind of wacky adventures we're gonna get up to. Somebody studying their masters. Shh, and they've got an assignment due. On Tuesday, a plumber is coming in to fix a leaky faucet. Last night, somebody dyed their hair blue, and it's gonna last for 8 whole washes. Share house, this is definitely a good thing. Share house, not at all disappointed to be in a share house at 35. It's not sad, it's practical.
I was working as a musician, and I was trying to be like a serious pop artist, and that didn't quite pan out the way that I was hoping. And then I was like, oh, but when you do comedy, you can actually talk about anything.
But then with the Local Laughs, was this one of the first rooms that you did?
I don't think, I didn't do the Local for a couple of years, but I feel like it's probably the room I do the most regularly now. And I love doing this room a lot. It's just really nice because I feel like the audience here is very open to different things as well. Like, you know, if you come out with a keyboard, no one's like, what's that? Which is nice.
I always like performing that song for people around my parents' age, because they're like, I don't get it, why didn't you just buy a house?
Are you a comic that clears off and goes home after your spot, or you hang around and you look at everyone?
I'm such a hanger-arounder, like...
Hang out backstage?
Yeah, just watch it. You get to watch comedy, you get to... and then talk to people, and sometimes people come up and say weird things, and you're like, let's see where this goes. I love it.
Stick around. Even when I'm like, I should go home, I'm always just end up sitting around because I'm like, I would usually, but I'm enjoying comedy again. You know, you're like, this is so nice. Yes, it is, and I definitely need to see what stuff.
I'm closing the show. Yeah, I'm headlining. Not Josh, who had a TV show, or Judy, who's performed all around the world. It's me.
Oh, we love it.
Airport employee Michael Rooms.
Michael, I always thought you were one of the most committed comedians in Melbourne when I learnt you would drive from Warrnambool to Melbourne for a spot and back again, because that is a 6-hour round trip.
It was like watching the movie Titanic, doing 5 minutes of comedy, and then watching Titanic again. Me and little Tommy Ballard, who wasn't even out of school then, we used to drive together.
Because you were both from Warrnambool.
We were both from Warrnambool, so we'd drive up and do our little spot and talk about it on the way home, yeah.
Considering I've got about a 15-minute commute, I think it would only be respectful if I stick around and watch you.
Bastard.
So I don't talk about it a lot on stage, but you can clearly tell from looking at me, I am mixed race. It's true, I am mixed race. My dad was born and raised in Warrnambool, Victoria, right down here. And my mum grew up and spent all her life in Colac. So I'm that Warrnambool Colac mix, you can tell. You can look at my facial features. I've got that hot Colac temper, but I also really love southern right whales. They're my favourite type of whale. And growing up, my mum never took me back to the home country. I never knew what Colac was like. All I knew growing up was the cold, mean streets of Warrnambool. I'm not sure.
Is there other comics that you've seen, if not around the country, then around the world, that do your style?
Yeah, people do drawing and stuff, but I like to feel that I'm at least I'm different in the type of comedy I do.
I also am always impressed with watching you because I'm like, wow, he's got to know how to write, how to draw, and there's no bailing out on this gag because the punchline will be this picture.
Yeah, exactly right. I've got to line up all my jokes and put them in a nice, or in a PowerPoint presentation. I have to know what I'm going to do before I get there. And if the audience is not up for Grease 2 jokes, then, oh well. Bow, da 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 da. Do you love me, Danny? Sure, baby, I love you even more than this flying car, which I love a lot. Yeah! Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Come in, Danny and Sandy, come in. We need your help at the school. St. Bernadette's is attacking the school. Bring the flying car. You heard the girl, baby doll. Let's go. Clang, 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 clang. Oh no, it's evil Cha-Cha. Stop her, Danny and Sandy. Bam. Zap, zap, zap. Cha-Cha's getting away. Stop her. Zap. Bet she should change her name to Chad. But these days are yours and mine, happy days. That's him. I used to go to a comedy festival, like, that was my big thing every year, was to go and watch everyone. I'd watch like 50 shows or something.
So how old were you when you were watching 50 shows at a festival?
Like 18, 19, like fresh out of school.
So you always through school just, this is what I want to do, this is it?
Uh-huh.
Because you do this room often. I think you probably are most comfortable in this room?
Literally when I was doing the 6 hours drive up, one of the first places I started doing it was here at the Local, because I'd get a little bit of petrol money and I would almost break even, and that was the dream of being a comedian. So yeah, I'm real comfortable here.
So like I said, I'm going back to work for the first time in 10 months. You might be like, what sort of shop has been closed for the entire COVID? It's because I work at the airport. I work at the news agency at the airport, so that has been, no customers. So I haven't bothered to come in, which is a job I hate. When I'm really bored, I take one of our receipts and I fold that receipt in half, and then I rip out a little man, and then I've got a little paper doll made out of a docket. And I call him Docket Man, and he goes on different adventures, such as this. Well, I think it's gonna be a long, long time. Touchdown things be too fine. I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh, no, no, no. I'm a docket man. Docket man, blow and the fizz out there alone. See, I actually filmed that at work. There's proof. Thank you. Thank you.
If this room didn't exist, the scene would be quite different. Whatever goes on stage here really has to represent me and what I believe in. Committed to being kind. It isn't a big raucous comedy room. It's supportive, but still lively.
Hey, you guys have been absolutely amazing. Give yourself a round of applause, yes? And keep it going for all the extra stores.
After running for close to 20 odd years every Monday night, I think Local Laugh has got to be pretty proud of not only encouraging so many comedians to get up on stage and tread the boards, but also for making sure that so many audience members are completely non-productive on a Tuesday. That's a win for everyone, really.